So if you guys remember yesterday or the other day's video, I wasn't happy with the pad that I was using. So I changed to my 1-inch wool felt. That's the dense felt, not the natural, so it's solid all the way through. It's also a cutout wither. Not that this guy has a high wither, but I have a good cutout pad. It's contoured as well, so it has a slight contour to go with the natural curve of the spine of the horse. My rigging on my saddle is in the skirt. I always like that better. It makes for a more stable situation. I do make sure my pad, though, has the leather protecting there so that this junction is not digging into the horse itself. I had to change my girth out yesterday as well. So the girth I had on this saddle was, again, for my other horse, so it was a 30-inch girth, and that didn't help with the slipping either. So I went digging through and found a 26-incher on my colt starting saddle. So I took that one off. It is also a felt, and then I use a leather billet and off billet. Great trainer Sharon Camarillo says you don't put two nylons together. They won't give, they won't break. So if you're gonna do, like this is a nylon with the felt, then you wouldn't have a nylon billet or off billet. If this was mohair has some stretch, you could have a nylon billet or off billet. One of these has to have some give, so you can't both be nylon. So I like using the leather here, and I like the felt here versus the rope mohair. Just personal preference. I always use a back cinch, and you can't see through my back cinch. My back cinch, I can, still rub my fingers through. You can breathe, but the back cinch is their purpose. It's not there to hang and dangle. The back cinch holds the back part of the saddle from flopping up and down and hitting them on the back. Your saddle is balanced at the 2 points. If you only go here, you're creating your saddle to be a pivot and put extra pressure on your shoulders and your withers. So by distributing and having this tight, you are using the full bars, the rear and the front, all the way along, distributing the weight. Makes it more comfortable for your horse. I've seen people use the mohair front cinch on the back. I do not recommend that. It's covering a wider place. If it slips or tickles in the flank area, you could get a bucking situation. And another thing you have to make sure you do is under here, if you can see, there's a little, not sure if you can see it, this little piece here, that is connecting the two, the front cinch and the rear cinch. It should not be longer than this. If it's too long and your girth's too loose, then you're going to end up having it slide back into the no-no zone, which causes them to buck. Now, even if I go down one hole, that's just too much. Lots of stuff can get caught in there, especially if you're trail riding. And see how much swing that is? That's just too much swing. You can adjust if yours doesn't fit well. Put some more holes in it. That's why I like the leather. You can add more holes as you need it. Breast collar. Breast collar is also important for placement. So this one, the way my saddle is, my D's are low. So if I just left my breast collar to hang off the low D ring, do you see where the collar lies? It would lie right on his shoulder. So when he would move his shoulder forward, this would prevent it from getting its full extension. So an easy way to fix that, you can try to make this shorter, but still, if I make this shorter, it's still not in the right spot. So I like the length of mine, and I just take, some breast collars come with them, some don't. It's called a wither strap. In this case, I'm actually using a Professional Choice tie for like a water bucket. It's got just a cloth loop on the one end and a snap on this end. So I can adjust it to any height I want by tightening, putting more knots in it. So when I have the wither strap on, see how it changes the placement up here above the shoulder, and that will allow the shoulder to have full movement and do what it needs to do. The other thing to make sure is right is that the center part is right on the chest bone. You don't want it up here, right in where they breathe. You want it on the hard part of the chest bone, which is right here. So that would be your correct fit. Loose enough so your shoulder can move. This center part hits at the chest bone, not up in the trachea and the esophagus area. And that way, they're comfortable. Breast collar has also a lot of important uses. If your saddle were, I actually would probably want to make this a little bit tighter for me. But if your saddle were to slip backwards, this can actually help keep it from sliding back. Because if your saddle does slide backwards, let's say this is not tight enough, this, you forgot to check it before you got on your regular cinch, and your saddle slides backwards, where are these going? Right into the zone of, I don't like that, I'm gonna buck. So this is just another added safety feature. Horses that have to stop and turn really fast, you know, if they're sweaty all day, and you can be a little slick sometimes. So this is just a nice feature. It's a safety feature. It's not just decorative, but it needs to be put on correctly. And the bridle again. I learned a lot from Sharon Camarillo. One of her early things was the more metal you have touching the bit. So you know how some people use the clips and they clip it on? That clip, every time you ride or pull on it, is connecting. So like having two forks or two spoons, and you're making spoon, you know, you can make music with it, right? So imagine now your horse's teeth and their mouth when this is on the bit, and they're very sensitive. So you're clank, clank, clank here, and they're feeling it up here. So leather or rope, if you like using the barrel reins, you know, mohair, horsehair, whatever you want to use, just don't do the metal on metal connection. And then the same here. I like to, some will have the quick release snaps here. And I, again, like to have just the leather on the bit so there's less metal to metal contact. Each bit has its own directions or need for a curb chain. The curb chain on most bits you want to have a finger or two, but again, depending on the bit and the horse. Some work well off of curb pressure versus others. When I start off a colt, I'll typically just have a O-ring snaffle, typically a Mylar level 1, so it's a 3-piece sort of, and then a leather curb, so I'm not doing too much. This guy has been off for a couple months getting some training done while I was having my hip done, so he's already been upgraded to the shank bit. I still have him though in a Mylar. It's a little port tongue relief. And so far he's doing okay with that. Again, I keep the halter on because it's easy to be able to lead them around with the lead if I need to. If I need to get off and work him because he's being silly, I can have him do circles. So I typically keep that on until they're well seasoned. Here in Norco, we do a lot of trail riding off the streets. People will go to, Starbucks and stuff, and you got to tie them up sometimes. So it will be risky if you have a young horse or a horse that's just learning about the streets and start to take off your bridle and put on a halter if you're not in a secure location. You don't want them running down the street. So here in town, we tend to keep the halter on if we're going to go somewhere where we might end up tying them up. That's it for now on tack and such. Oh, another thing, I do use split reins. So split reins are a great tool because you can use them, just as a little tap, tap, tap on the side, or if you need a little bit of a, little encouragement swing, not necessarily hitting them, but an encouragement swing to move forward, then you have them on your reins. But I also, being that most of my career I've been a barrel racer, I also keep over-under on my saddle, so that if I am in barrel reins or a single rein, I have my over-under to get after them or use as the same way I would use the end of the split reins. So I hope some of my friends that are just learning or have forgotten some of the basics like my videos, and I'm just gonna keep doing them anyway because they're fun, and I like to be able to look back when I can't remember anything and remember what I did. And he's getting really friendly, so I don't mind because he keeps wanting to go away, so I'm gonna let him come in close, and that's all right. They'll get him. Yeah, cutie. So we're gonna hop on now and go from there.